countries and different places are waiting to hear us. So so we are very much thankful to them also because they are the people for whom we do the programs. And when we get their response, very positive response, then it encourages us, it encourages the society and also for the organizers, the member of the organizing groups. So the theme of today's discussion is the dynamics of social change and winning basic social institution. It means today, but we have some request. We have a good number of requests that considering the program, please conduct in Hindi. But I am not in favor of conducting it in Hindi because it's an international program. So if the whole spirit of the program will go if it is in Hindi, but we will have some important discussions in Hindi and the rest in English. So it will be that language will be Hindi and English both based on the demand of the viewers. And once again, uh, I request, I'm thankful to Dr. Jyoti Bindal for coming to this program, and she will present her own views on this subject. And then there will be, after that, we will have a question and answer session, may, depending on, it will be, again, the language will be Hindi and English. So, but this is very interesting that this time we have a good number of requests for the language because of the topic itself. So the topic is in Hindi what I can we can call it कि जो सामाजिक संस्थाएं हैं वो धीरे धीरे कैसे समाप्त हो रही हैं और उनकी जो रेफरेंस मतलब रेलेवेंस है वो रेलेवेंस भी धीरे धीरे खोता जा रहा है. तो अगर जब when we talk on that, the social institutions, the major social institutions are family, marriage, clan, and there is one, two more institutions which is not the primary, but they are not less than primary, though they are secondary, uh, but they are very, very important, like the genealogical table or the genealogical status of an individual in the whole group, in the whole social group. And the people of the social institutions are feeling that the generational gap is forcing further to discuss this kind of program we should have. So, depending on the response of today's program, we may think of having another one more program on this subject, but it may be a little after a fortnight or so, not be very quickly. So, today have this now the marriage as an institutions. Before that, there is a, how the say the different layers or the different uh, mm, dimensions through which the institution has come up in the present form. It has means the individual started living in the forest, then from forest to they moved to the riverside, and from riverside they formed a group with, and that social group was based on their need and demand. So from that, it became in course of time, it became the social institutions because people were from one group, they thought that they are from one family because they were from one particular place. So likewise, this the whole concept of family grew, and all the members of the family is very much close to them, to each others, But now you see, with the development, multi-layer development and multidimensional development, the nature of family has changed. The concept of family is there, but the concept of family which were in 1850, which and today in 2050, 2025, when we see, we find that there is a lot of change. Sea change has come. The institution is very much there, but that is institution is in the crisis because of the multidimensional change, and that change is the need of the hour. So that change is going on, and from for that, the member of the family are moving from one place to another place, but they come on the they used to come on some important issues of the family, wheresoever they were. But now the situation has changed because the migration, or the people after leaving the family, they are not only living in from rural to urban, or they are throughout the world they are moving, and then it becomes very difficult that if there is a small thing in a family, so they will come. Even if there is a major thing in the family, generally most of the people are not there. It is now an institution of the senior citizen home has come, that was absent, because the role of senior citizen was being the role of the family, one of the important role of the family to take care of the senior people of the family has gone to the senior citizen home. So that is, and for that is a part of the government, or the social system now, in which the whole fund is given to that institution so that they can take care of the senior citizen. So likewise, you see there is another institution called the marriage. The nature of marriage has also changed. Now the marriage, by the definition, if you go, you find that the marriage is there, very much there, but and it is an universal institution, basic institution, training institution, but it has gone under a lot of change, and that change is sometime it is noticed, and in majority of the time that is not noticed, because the family now there is a discrepancy, and they are at the different level. The members of the family are at the different levels. Some have become, since they got good education and they are good size, so and they have good money, so they are better off, and then they have their own way of life. So sometime the family uh, members are there, but that intimacy and closeness is absent. So for that, they visit to, there is like a senior citizen home. There is some home for the people who are living in the family, but for when there is a distress or there is a need, they used to go to some other formal institutions where their needs are fulfilled. So likewise, this is there. So I will um, request Dr. Jyoti Bindal to come out with her views on waning family institutions, so that basic family institutions, social institutions, so that if the social institutions, if it needs a reconsideration, we should reconsider it, and we should make suggestions also, and on the basis of that, we will, if we also feel, as the viewers are feeling, if we also feel that no, we can have a series of programs, then we can have two or three programs more on this subject, and then we will draft a policy program for the to make institution more more lively for the serving the purpose of its member, and accordingly we will draft the policy, and that will be given to the government, and this this will come under this comes under the welfare ministry. So we will consult ministry, and I hope that today also, as usual, the ministry might be viewing it. So if they are there, then some questions will come, and accordingly we will respond to them. So with these words, I would like to request Dr. Jyoti Bindal to come out with her own views on the waning social institutions, social institutions. So, Dr. Bindal, please.
Uh, Good evening, and at the outset, I'm extremely thankful to Professor Narayan for giving me this opportunity and also to think about such a wonderful subject of discussion today: dynamics of social change and decline of basic social institutions. Prakhar, can I have my presentation, please? So, as Professor Narayan rightly said, we are facing and we are experiencing that the basic social institutions are definitely on a decline. And when I talk of social change, I mean the alterations which are significant in nature and which have occurred over a period of time in the structure of a social institution, but also the cultural pattern and behavior of a society. So, these are the social changes. The factors which cause these social changes are, of course, the technological advancements, but also the cultural and ideological shifts, the economic factors, the political movements, certain environmental and health crises. I mean, a very good example of this is the COVID times when people totally changed their lifestyle, and even today, when we are on this um, virtual meeting, this is what the health crisis has brought total changes, and of course, the demographic changes. Now, as Sir rightly said, what are the institutions which primarily we mean by the social institutions? They are number one, um, family, but also religion, also education, economy, and government. Now, any decline or any transformation in these institutions can lead to a social instability, cultural shift, or new forms of organizations. Let's talk of family as an institution. We all know that there was earlier a traditional family, but now it's undergone significant changes in many parts of the world. There are certain factors like divorce has become very common, the marriages have been delayed, and even we are looking at single parent families and also changing gender roles. They are the main contributing factors to this decline in the family traditional units. Earlier, the joint family, which we call joint family, especially in India, it used to have a central role and it used to provide the emotional, financial, and social support. And this would overall help in the development of a child and also a cohesion in the society. But as we are saying, this traditional joint family is now disintegrated into a nuclear family. So although there are two types of structures, but we are looking at now a single family, and the even that single family with a married couple and their children is replaced by different diverse family forms. From the joint family, as I said, we have come down to nuclear families, and 56% of household members, it was seen in 2011 that 56% of households had four or less members, which in 2001 had four or five members, but now, as on today, this 56% has become 82%. So we can see that now more and more people are living as a nuclear families. Now, lot of children are not only living with in a nuclear family, but also a single parent family is also become very common. There's also a rise in childlessness by choice. People don't want to have children. There are delayed marriages and a very, very alarming acceptance of cohabitation without marriage. We do find a lot of couples living together who have still not tied the marriage knot. Now, the main causes which we can see is the changing social norms. Now, the acceptance to make a non-traditional family has increased, and there used to be a stigma. Oh, divorce, even divorce was a stigma earlier in our country, but now all that stigma has decreased, and this allows for a greater flexibility in family arrangements. Then economic factors, high housing costs, job insecurity, they all have delayed or discouraged marriage and even childbearing for many. And especially, as Professor Narayan mentioned, the senior citizens, the parents of the uh, couple, it's very difficult to house them, especially in the single or double bedroom flats, which we see in high rise buildings in the metros. Then women are getting. No, can we go back? Women are getting more and more autonomy, and this, therefore, as I was talking, the gender equation has changed. The traditional breadwinner model has changed, and women do have more options besides just being married and having children. So, all these things have caused a decline in the normal family structure. But what happens? What are the consequences of this? One is the social mobility. Children who are from single parent households, they experience greater economic challenges, and there's a cycle of poverty because single parents often have fewer resources to provide for their children. And this we've seen after divorce, if the custody of the child is given to only one of the parents, especially if it's a young child, the custody is given as per law to the mother who's not uh, in a breadwinning segment, and so the economic challenge is used. Then children who are raised in non-traditional families, they lack certain types of socialization experiences, less support for parents, especially we see that if the mother and father both are working, then the children either have to be kept under daycare, or they have to be there should be some kind of a nanny arrangement. And the children of today's generation are just missing on the historic tales which were told by the grandparents. Uh, so all this is happening because if both parents are working, they can give less time to the children, and these children lack the experiences. The second factor, other than family, in social institution is religion. Religion is also a reason for decline in the social institution, because earlier religion was like a moral compass. Now the secularism is rising, and earlier religion was kind of a source of guidance. meaning in life, community. you know you should not do these wrong things, you'll be punished by God. Those kind of feelings are totally gone. Next. And this leads to shared moral framework. There are challenges to social cohesion. There is also a positive factor of not being traditionally bound by religious rites, is that there's a diversity of worldviews. There is more tolerance of different belief system. So both faith and reasoning are at crossroads here. And the cause for decline is, as I again said, secularization is a huge cause, because as societies so called modernize, they move towards secular values. And of course, education, scientific advancements, and availability of alternative lifestyle, they all have reduced religion's influence. Then there are cultural shifts, because individualism is important, becoming important. And by individualism, I mean a person's personal choice and autonomy is given huge weightage. Earlier in traditional joint families, the younger daughter-in-laws, the children, younger children had no voice as far as the religious festivals or rites were concerned. Everybody had to follow. But that doesn't happen now, because we are giving more importance to each person in the family. Then another very important cause of decline in religious belief is that there have been lots of cases of scandals, distrust. We all know about the sexual abuse scandals in the churches, but also in the temples, we have seen that some kind of black magic and falsification of incidents have happened, and which has led to a general distrust on the religious pundits, I would say. And because of this decline, again, there is loss of social cohesion, because religion traditionally has been a uniting force. People had a sense of belonging, shared values, and so this sense of community is getting eroded. There is also increased polarization. So there are new identity communities, and people from different ideology, they form online bubbles, or within the community there are political beliefs, there are social issues. So there is more and more polarization because of diversity of religion. The third social declining is in education. We have seen that more, although higher educations, new modern schools, higher education institutes are coming up, yet there is definitely sometimes we can feel a decline because the funding is not adequate. Some people are following outdated curricula, and very very important thing is that there is a rise of alternative education methods, especially online learning. Even in our traditional classrooms, and in a place like a medical college, we are finding less and less children attending physical classes. They do come for clinics, for patient examination, but when you take their theory classes, they want to learn because they're getting all that knowledge from Google or whatever virtual platform. So there is definitely a decline in the institutions, and there's also a declining trust in traditional education, because there are so many ways of knowledge acquisition these days. There's self teaching, there is vocational training, and this definitely poses a big challenge on the legitimacy of traditional educational pathways. The education system is seen as a problem for a number of reasons. One is, of course, the poor quality of training, but also the teachers' attitudes, and the very rigid methods and curriculum which are not accepted by the younger generation, then inaccessible environments, lot of dropouts, teachers and schools not being supported, the parents are not involved in education of children, and of course there is a lack of teaching aids and equipment. Funds are always a problem everywhere. So all these cause cause a decline in the education system of today's world. Another institution I would talk would be government and politics. We all know what is the political scenario these days. With all that, every time the newspapers only talk of corruption, inefficiency, loss of trust in political leadership. And this causes political instability as well as erosion of social contract. There is a huge dissatisfaction with the political process. People have become apathetic, they couldn't care less, and there is a rise in authoritarian movements. Now, as you can see from this chart, the politicians who are occupying the public office, it is very, very clearly demonstrated that they provide patronage and support to criminals, and in the same vicious circle, criminals provide money and muscle power to politicians, to the extent that many criminals are now occupying the political posts, and this somehow is a total declination of the political scenario. Not only in our country, we can see in most of the world this is happening. There are a lot of reasons for failure of political system and public policies. One is, of course, false narratives and misguided decisions, then limited knowledge of audience because people do not have access to the all the policies, then brand image is over reliance there's on brand image, then sometimes policies lead to unintended consequences, for example demonetization, and then prohibitive costs. So all these kind of things are key reasons for the failure of policies which are implemented by government and by politicians. Then another group about whose decline I can talk are the economic institutions. Economic institutions can decline if there is massive inequality, if there is economic crisis, or a new economic system or technology disrupts the traditional industries, and so there could be rise of informal economies or alternative economic systems. Then certain industries which have totally gone out of voice, like coal mining, so entire community is destructed which were built around these institutions, and this is a major cause of decline of those communities. So again, economic institutions were a big reason. Media has become a major factor in today's day-to-day life, and now with the rise of social media with alternative information sources, the traditional media institutions like newspaper, like TV channels and radio stations, they have definitely they are influencing people less and less. The social media is a big source of misinformation for polarized communities and for overall misleading the public. Media is helpful uh, in promoting your business, because it's very, very affordable. It increases the brand awareness, it helps provide the market data, and it's a platform for interacting with customers, but it can also ruin your reputation. It is an addictive source of life in today's world. It all the time you're on your telephone, on your mobile, you're always looking at your messages. Also, there's an invasion of personal privacy, and trends can be very difficult to keep up with, and the basic root cause of information is so difficult to track. There can be false information and you can never make out where is it coming from. So these are all the disadvantages of a social media. Then of course, lastly, state and globalization. The overall nation's value and power will come may come down if there are certain institutions like multinational corporation, like EU, like UN, and this will weaken the role of government, and so again, by consequently, the social institutions will not be regulated, and a huge challenge is posed for social welfare and public services. I would like to finally state that the social change and the decline of social institutions are interconnected, because when the society's values evolve, they change, new challenges emerge. So, traditional institutions are often forced to be replaced, to adapt, to weaken, and so the dynamics are totally changed when the decline of social institutions happen. Uh, Traditional labor markets, the family structures, online communities, tech driven economies, all these are the factors which will cause decline of traditional social institutions. However, I cannot always say that the environmental changes will bring only decline in the social institution. There are many factors where one can actually appreciate the effect of changes on the social institution, and so sometimes it needs lot of adaptation. There's definitely resistance to any change, sometimes even the conflict occurs, but overall I think the time has come when we should just pick up the good parts of our previous traditional values, and also at the same time adopt to the good dynamic changes. Thank you. Sir.
Dr. Bindal, you have given a good points for the viewers to consider and reconsider the dynamics of social change and waning basic social institutions. I'm sure that we will have some question answer session. But before that, what I would like to say is that as you pointed out, that failure of political system and criminality of social institutions is more disturbing, and it's giving more deviation to social institutions for waning social institutions. So, if that is controlled as per the Constitution, Indian Constitution, then that fast change in the waning social institutions may be checked as per the need of the people. Because you have very rightly said that there are some good things in traditional social system, in traditional social institutions, but which is absent with the modernization, urbanization, and the development, holistic development in social institutions. So, and that's why it is waning. The media also is responsible for waning of the social institutions or political system, and the political system must go under training for they should have some sort of 3 months or 6 months training, because they are the role model. They are copied by the younger generations, especially the politicians, that how they are earning money and how they are running the society. So that needs, and the other thing is that for the media also, for the print media and especially the print media in the local languages, that that is more popular than the English newspaper. So that should be also there, and the electronic media should also consider, and they should think that there should be some sort of training program for them. It's not that anybody coming from, say, fish market has become an announcer or has become a newsreader. So that's not, it should not be there. It should be a very systematic, though the courses are there, but the people, due to various factors, are not like that. So the serious people who are working with the revival of the waning social institutions are also in media, are also in politics. They should be identified and be requested that you please do something for your country, for your traditional social institutions. Otherwise, what will happen that you find that once very recently I read in the some newspaper that Supreme Court and the High Court have having 50% of such cases which has a relationship with the family and the family institutions, because those cases are either the daughter-in-law or the daughter or the brother. They all are going to High Court or Supreme Court for petty situation. They don't want to take care of their elder brother or for their father, and for that they go to High Court and Supreme Court, and then the order comes, and but that order is also not totally followed. So, should we not go for? Should we not have a the social scientist or the natural scientist, especially the social scientist, should also consider that the definition of family or the social institutions which they have written in the book and which they are teaching to the younger generations, that needs to be reformed, because it must be with the changing time, with the fast changing time. Only then after with such a degree they can realize that this is the need of the family or the social institutions. So we should go for that. This is a very high time, you are very rightly said that this is very high time. You have given an example from the medical students that but if you go, there are several open university, but how many in open university also you see the students are there who's- who are not attending the classes or not appearing regularly in the examinations, and for the these are all because the teaching, there is a gap between teaching and the listening of the students, because what you are giving them the definition of the family or of the marriage is it has gone under change in real life, but in textbook it is still there. So that also needs to be considered, because in new education policy we must also add that such textbook needs to be changed. Otherwise, the old system, you are teaching old system, old definitions, which is not relevant in the changing context or in the present context. So that is very important, and the role of the media is equally important, because the media, when they publish so many things about the crime and say antisocial activities, or they praise so many of the politicians, political leaders, which is of no use. But they do not talk of any good example of the traditional institutions which they are, which they find in the society. Say, for
Actually,
example,
there's a
that
very no, so I
you
was
want to
saying
say
there's a very
something?
interesting question. Yes, there's a very interesting question which has come on a dashboard.
Yeah. How can modern education systems respond to this sense of among the youth,
Normlessness. So that's a very
normlessness?
interesting question because, as rightly asked, the youth today is becoming quite. They do not have the proper direction in the modern education system. So, what I would suggest is that the education system should develop more of vocational training. They should have target oriented educational small fellowships rather than prolonged courses, and the youth according to their interest. But the good thing in NEP, the new education policy, is that people are allowed to change their streams. It's not like you've taken an admission in one course and you are bound for the next 3 or 4 years with that course. You are permitted to change the course, change after 1 semester or 2 semester. So that's the good part in the modern education system in our country.
Yes, you are right. But change in education cannot be in isolation. It needs to be considered in the light of other relevant factors, and also in the light of that we have to see that whatsoever change is suggested or change in education system, these youth also must have textbook or the books in market. They must have all that. Otherwise, they don't have. So they go only for uh, everything. They depend on computer. So that is not the correct way of imparting education. This is what I feel. And then we have
Then
to
we
think
also
of the
have this.
international.
Then another question by
Yes.
Manu Shuklaji is coming. With the weakening of joint family system, how can society ensure the emotional and social well-being of senior citizens who are increasingly isolated? Here, I would like to say that because of the demands of the modern times, the jobs which is taking the younger generation to another city, another country, obviously the elderly population is left by themselves to okay, to to be in the system. So what ideally they should be doing is that they can the senior citizens have to become self independent. They have to make their emotional and social status themselves good, and they have to be in the society where more likewise like-minded people are there with them.
Yes, that should be. So, as individuals, how can we personally contribute to building trust in basic institutions like family, school, or local community? As an individual, yes, you can contribute. We can have, say, if we are organizing a webinar or a conference, there are very limited people, and whatsoever the message they get from the webinar or from the seminar, they carry it on, and then they try to bring some change in the family or in the institution which in which they are there. So slowly we have to think for such kind of change, and then it will be there. Family. So okay. Is there any question? Is there any more question? No, it is not there. Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Vindal, for coming today. And let me see, we will be getting tomorrow the details of the participants and all that. So
Sure,
accordingly,
sir.
we will think for again one more session like this. Otherwise, if it is not there, then we will go to switch
Discuss.
over to another topic.
Right.
So thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you,
today.
sir.
Thank
Good.
you.